In today's health headlines, over a third of the top tattoo ink brands are testing positive for bacteria. A new drug has been approved for early Alzheimer's, and why only 18% of Americans are up to date on lung cancer screening. Joining me is Dr. Arjun Venkatesh, Chair of Emergency Medicine for Yale School of Medicine and Yale Medicine. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Ann.
All right, a lot of people need to hear this. Over a third of the 75 tattoo ink brands tested positive for bacteria, regardless of sterility claims. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so the FDA did a recent study. They went out and they got 75 brands of ink, common ink used in tattoos, and then tested them just straight out of the bottle for any bacteria. Almost a third of them had some bacterial content in that ink, even though they're supposed to be sterile. This is important. A third of Americans have a tattoo. Something like 20% have 2 or more tattoos. And it's really, really important that sterile ink and sterile procedures are used for a tattoo, or it could get infected. And we see them all the time in the emergency department. So if you are getting a new tattoo, make sure that sterile processes are used, and ask any tattoo artist what they're doing to make sure that there's a reduced risk of any infection.
All right, a new drug has been approved to help slow cognitive decline in the early stages of Alzheimer's. What can you tell us about this medication?
It's the second time we've been talking about this in the last year, because this is now the second drug, which is very similar to one that was approved several months ago, to be approved for Alzheimer's. Important to know that what these drugs do is, in people who have early cognitive impairment, early dementia, it appears that it might slow down the progression of that dementia over a few months. That could be really important for some people in terms of how they're able to live, where they're able to live, and for their families, but it doesn't save your life. It doesn't prevent dementia from happening. And there are some real risks. And so what we are largely seeing is that as these new drugs become available, they could certainly be transformative, but it's important to see a neurologist, a memory specialist, to really be evaluated and make sure that you're the right fit for this kind of drug.
All right, and finally, only 1 in 5 Americans eligible for lung cancer screening are actually up to date on testing. Why is this? And first of all, who is eligible for that screening?
Yeah, big study that came out, over 25,000 participants conducted by the CDC across all 50 states in the United States, looked at how many people were getting recommended lung cancer screening. If you're between the ages of 50 and really 80, and you have a risk factor for lung cancer, the most common of which is really being an active smoker or greater than 20 years of smoking history, then you should get screened. What screening often means is a low-dose CAT scan. It's pretty quick and easy to do. The study found that almost 1 in 5 Americans who are eligible for that screening had not gotten it. And that's important because there are many effective treatments for lung cancer out there, and it can be an opportunity to even make a change in your lifestyle. And so if you've been a smoker, you are a smoker, you're above the age of 50, talk to your doctor about screening if you haven't had it.
All right, all good advice. Dr. Arjun Venkatesh, have a great day and thanks.